Samuel, he's buried there at Rockland, I suppose. What do you know?
I don't know. Yes, yes, there was. There was a little, just a little foot stone.
At the cemetery.
At the cemetery.
Granddad
They had baby.
had 13 or 14 or 15 plots. And he figured everybody was going to be buried there. There are half a dozen that are left.
Plots
In fact,
for
I'm
15.
we're all planning them being planted
right?
back there, yes. In that same cemetery. It's kept up nicely.
Now, some of them, now, Leon, he was buried in Milwaukee, did you say?
In Madison.
He was out there staying with his daughter when he died. They had a big lot, the Bennett's did, and she just buried him.
Did I go to that funeral?
No.
Oh, I know, but when Florence died, because then I saw the same, Florence died.
Earl, is Earl buried in California?
Yes.
You know what city or?
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. He belonged to the, it wasn't the Odd Fellows. Anyway, we had a cousin that was out there that looked after things. But when he died, and of course there wasn't anything to be buried but
Some bones.
the bones. And
Was it a cousin on the Pryor side of your family?
no, that was my brother. There was the one, my brother Dan, or my brother Earl, that was killed in
Yes.
California.
I mean, the cousin that tended to the funeral,
Oh,
was it a
well, she was a cousin of Dad's. May Troutner was her name, and Dad was in bed. He wasn't able to go or know the rest of them. And they said that May Troutner, they got a hold of her, and she made their arrangements, and he was buried. And now I don't know whether it was the Odd Fellows, the Eagle, is some fraternity lodge, some lodge. They buried it in that cemetery that they had.
Now this May Troutner, did you know her?
Yes, she was an old maid school teacher. I just remember, and shortly after I started to school, she left and went to California and taught school there. Then eventually died because, heavens to Moses, I don't know how old she'd be.
Well, did you know her parents? Were her parents J.D. Troutner and
No, I don't know. I never knew anyone but May, or knew of them. There was a family of Troutners there. I remember that lived just pretty close to Davis's Corners, but I don't know.
Well, my great-grandfather had a sister that married a Troutner. And I wonder I don't know what happened to them, that Troutner family.
Well, I don't know. The only one that I knew of was May, and she was an old maid school teacher. But there was other Troutners, because there's a place out there that they call the Troutner place.
Is your father living?
No, he's not.
Oh.
No. The way I'm related to you, I don't know if I told you on the phone or not, but your grandfather, Perkins, had a brother named Peter, and Peter was my great-great-grandfather. But anyway, you said May Troutner was a cousin to your father.
Yes. No, maybe some of the May's, maybe May's mother and father there must have been some Pryor in there somewhere.
Yeah.
There was one, I was thinking the other night about it, there was one prior that she was some relation, she was a cousin of Granddad's. And I couldn't think of her name. She never married, I don't believe. And I think she was a school teacher. But that was pretty far out.
Was her name Watson? Maudabelle Watson?
No, that Maudabelle Watson, that family are connected up with the other Pryor. There was a John Pryor, and they spelled their name P-R-Y-O-R. I think they just done it. But you mentioned there was a Clyde and a Chester. Mm-hmm. And there was a girl, Irma, and another boy, Ray.
Yes.
And a girl, Daisy.
Yes. She knows it, doesn't she?
Well, what amazes me that you already have all of this. How you dug it out and where? I'm curious.
Well, I've spent a lot of time on it, I tell you.
How long have you been working on this one?
2 years, off and on. I'm trying to figure out what family. I know the children, but I can't really place the family right now. That's the trouble. I get too much information and I can't locate it right when I need it.
And then there was another Pryor that I believe was connected with them, was Norman Pryor. Did you get a hold of one?
Yes, I got hold of his, a niece of Norman.
Yes.
Yes, they're connected.
Yes, I forget how they was kind of related to us, both on the Pryor and the Smith side.
Who migrated to this part of the country from back that way that got your handle started?
I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know if I ever will. The Pryor, Perkins Pryor's father, John Pryor, was born in Delaware around 1768 or something like that. And I'm not, beyond that, I'm not certain. But I have definite proof of that. Now I've got some ideas about his father. I think his father's name is John, but I don't. It's kind of shaky. And I don't know. I don't know where. I think they came from England.
I don't think you'll find any among the Pryors, any family are bigger than ours. Aunt Henrietta, the one that married Major Maitland, she had 2 boys and 2 girls. There was Ed and Arthur Maitland, and then she had 2 daughters, Jessie and Kate. Aunt Liz only had, that was the one that was
married Newton Jolly.
Yes, she only had 4 children. I can remember Aunt Liz come down to see Dad one day, and she stayed with Aunt Liz had a daughter, Kit Lewis, Catherine Lewis. You probably got that in there. And Dad was in bed, he'd been reading, and his legs was crippled so bad that he couldn't get around. And Aunt Liz they always kind of bit at each other a little bit. Mm. Aunt Liz, she said, "Oh, why don't you get up? Try to walk." She said, "You just, if you don't try, why, you'll never be able to walk again." And she was talking to him and telling him. He laid his paper down and he said, "For God's sake, Liz, shut up." He said, "You'll be 6 feet under the sod and I'll be planting daisies on your grave." So he said, "Don't tell me what to do."
Well, what year did your father die, do you know?
36.
36.
36. Now, he lived a long time.
Yes, he did. He was 94.
Have you contacted anyone personally like this? I mean, that's as old as my mother? Or about?
Well, my grandmother, Pryor, still living. She's 97.
Is that right?
Oh, Lord.
Where is she?
She lives just south of Springfield. See, a lot of these Pryors, well, they would be your father's cousins. 3 of them set out after the Civil War, and they moved down to, well, they went to Kansas first, and then they moved down to just south of Springfield.
Well, that's
And-
what I meant. How?
Yes.
Okay.
I've talked to others that are back
Your
at
grandmother's 97.
97, and she helped me an awful lot. I tell you, her memories about like your mom's. Well, now this Chester and Clyde and Irma and Ray and Daisy, or Roy. Is it Roy or Ray?
What? Roy. Ray. It's Ray. Ray Pryor.
Ray and Daisy. Now,
I think they're all dead.
yes, they are. But they were cousins of your dad.
Yes. Their father was a cousin of my dad.
Oh, yes, that's right. Their father was a cousin of your dad. That's right. And their grandfather was a brother to Perkins.
That's the way it was, I
Yeah.
guess, because we always considered ourselves cousins anyway.
Now, this is one group I haven't been able to get hold of anyone from this family. Do you know if Chester or Clyde or Ray or Irma or Daisy, do you know any of their children that might still be living?
Chester didn't have any children. Clyde didn't have any children. Ray and Irma and Daisy had children. Daisy was married to John Brown that lived in Rockland Township, and I don't know who. I never knew who Irma married, and I didn't know who Ray married, but I know Daisy married John Brown, and they may have some.
Okay. Now, Irma, I think, married a Dietrich.
Yes, you're right. I was trying. I thought of Frederick and everything else, but it didn't sound right. But Dietrich was who she married, and she had some children. She was neighbor of Aunt Marie's there in Franklin for a long time. And
Now, this Ray Pryor, did he stay in Venango County, or did he leave and go?
he died kind of young.
Oh, he did.
And I don't know what it was. But Irma and Chester and Clyde were both married, but neither one of them had any children.
And they lived there. Did they die in that county? Or
Yes. Chester died when the flu first come through. And then Clyde died.
Clyde died in 1945.
1945, yes, around about that.
Now, Chester, when the flu, you mean the bad time right after World War I?
Yes, Clyde Pryor was he was married to a girl named Lottie White. They didn't have any children. They always had a dog that they was fussing over, making a fuss over. And they lived out at the Franklin, out in the Franklin Road there. Had a place out when that was just starting new out there. And their dog died. It was a little bulldog. And they sat down and got a baby's coffin from the funeral home, and they buried that dog one afternoon, and they was mad because they told the neighbors about it, and of course naturally the any of my folks. I know Marie and Jack knew about it and told them when they was going to have a funeral for the dog at 2 o'clock that afternoon. Well, none of them went.
Did they print up announcements and all that?
And I don't know whether they did or not, but they turned out to be Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, really?
Oh boy, they was deep and thick in that. And one day, somebody was out there, and Clyde took them to the basement. I believe it was Jack. So it was some of the connection anyway, and they took him. Clyde took him to the basement, showed him, and there was shells, just shells and shells of canned goods and just all. And he said, "Well, what are you going to do? Start a store? Well, why all of it? Are you stocked up with so much canned goods and stuff?" And he said, "Well, some of these days, the world's going to come to an end, and nobody's going to be here with us Jehovah's Witnesses." And
maybe Wade's a Jehovah's Witness. Who knows?
No. Did you know their parents, Chester and Clyde and Irma and Ray and Daisy? Their father's name was John.
Their father's name is John, but
and the mother was Olive. Did you ever know them?
I wonder what her last name was.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know either. I never seen. They lived at the other end. They lived back in there where those falls are. Back in there where Uncle Sam Forker lived. And I never seen the mother. I don't think she.
Well, their grandmother was the Carolyn Cox I was talking about earlier. Her name is Henrietta Carolyn.
That name sounds familiar, that Henrietta Cox.
And she married Jesse L. Pryor. And this Jesse L. Pryor was a brother to your Perkins Pryor. So Henrietta would have been a sister-in-law.
Yes. Must have been. That's getting out a little far.
That's getting way back there.
Oh, I don't know.
Now,
I had an aunt, Aunt Sade Cox. She was mother's sister, Aunt Sade, and she married John Cox. And she married John Cox, and he was some relative of grandmother, granddad's wife, that was Catherine Cox. But they didn't have any children. That didn't kind of put an end to that. But I know her Aunt Sade, and I know her husband's name was John Cox.
Did you know Sheridan Pryor?
Sheridan? No, I never heard of that.
He had a son named Leslie Pryor. Now he died. He's about your age. He's a little bit older.
What was the last name?
Leslie Pryor.
Leslie Pryor. Yes. They lived about halfway between where we lived and Davis's Corners, and what was the father's name?
Sheridan?
Sher. They call him Sher. Sher Pryor, and they had just one boy, Leslie, that kept very much to himself. He went a little bit to school. He was a tall, but just kind of a mama's boy. And
well, did he ever marry, or do you know?
No, he never married. He never had a girl.
Well,
I'll never forget. We was coming from the store once up Davis's Corners, Bert and I was driving the horse, buggy, And we caught up to Les Pryor. He was going to the store, I guess, and I said, I'm going to ask him to ride, if he wants to ride. And Bert said, don't you dare. And that was what I did. I pulled up the horse and stopped, and I said, Les, do you want to ride? Are you going to the store? He said, yes. And he just crawled in and sat down on my sister's lap. Oh, she was so mad, Bert was just to kill me. He didn't say, can I? Bert, if she'd have had time, would have flopped over onto my lap, but he done it too quick, and he just sat on her knee when we got to the store.
I may have asked you about the Sollingers. Did you know any Sollingers?
Yes.
Were there a lot of them?
There was a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Sollingers.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Are they down in that part of the country too?
Yes, they lived out more towards Floyd or Smith Corners. Smith Corners was just about halfway to, and then there was a place down by the river that they called Brannan's Ferry.
Yeah.
And but I never knew. I knew there was a family or two of Salyers out there, Salyers. But
There was another Clyde Pryor.
yes.
Did you know him?
No, I didn't. That was a Nickelville
Yes.
Clyde Pryor. And there was some relation, not too close. Cousins or second cousins or...
Yes, he would have been second or third cousins, probably.
Yes, that'd be out of the way. I don't know whether there was any more to that family or not.
Well, he had 3 sisters, but I don't know much about them.
Well, you're going to get that all together and put in book form, huh?
Oh, I'd like to get a record for it one of these days.
Yes.
Well, this Clyde Pryor married Edna Berlin, but you said you never knew him?
I know him. I knew who he was, and I knew that he was married to a Berlin girl. But to know him personally, he was more the age of my sister Ella and Marie and them.
He was about 15 years older than you.
Yes, all of that.
And his sisters, he had a sister Effie that married a Dr. Berglund, Charles
Yes.
Berglund.
I remember that. But they were just names to me, but yes, there was 2 Clyde Pryors, and they were related some, not too much so.
Did you ever know a David Pryor? Now he would have been about 50 years older than you.
No,
When you were growing up, you don't remember an old fellow named David
I
Pryor.
don't remember. There was an old fellow, David Fox, but he wasn't. He was related to a different bunch of Coxes that was in our family. Grandmother Cox was.
Now Sheridan Pryor, get back to him, Sheriff Pryor. He had a brother named Samuel. Do you remember him?
I don't know. I never knew any of that family. Only I'd seen Mr. Pryor once in a while at the store or along the road, and then they had this boy Lester, and I don't even know who he was married to.
What about the name Jackson Pryor? Does that ring a bell?
No, I never knew any Jackson Pryor.
There at the cemetery, there are an awfully lot of Pryors, I've heard, buried there.
Was you to the Rockland Cemetery?
No, I've never been there, but I'm going to go one of these days if things
It's a
work out.
nice cemetery.
You might, if you think of it, and if you, when you do go, maybe give me a phone call. or if you're passing through here anyway. And I mean, it's possible I could be back there at the same time. I want to go down. If you could.
All right. Before I head out that way, I'll let you know.
We might have that reunion going on.
Might work out.
If you come in as a prior, that'd be quite a novelty to them. Now, you speak of being tall. I'm thinking that still yet on our in this prior end of it, there weren't. Now, Granddad wasn't too tall. He was probably 5'8".
Yes.
I would say most of the and of the children of this family here, the cousins, the offspring, were more of my stature.
Oh, really?
5'8", 5'9", 10 at the most. I don't recall any, really tall.
Well, maybe it comes in somewhere else.
In somewhere else, yes. I think from some of the women there, though, the women were inclined to be maybe 5'6", 5'7", 5'5", in there.
That's a pretty good size. I mean, it's a little above average probably for a girl.
Or 5'3" or 4" is someone average. But you mentioned that about being tall. I had 2 cousins that we were all about the same age. Jack and Claude. That was Claude Peoples and Jack Williams. And the 3 of us were within about a couple months of each other in age. And we were all, well, both of them may have been about an inch. That's it, smaller than what I am, or was. It didn't start shrinking, I didn't realize it, but you do. Well, this is very interesting. I'm extremely pleased to, because my son, who is in Phoenix, I talked with him this morning. He called me, and he's a great one for antiques, whatever, and of the lineage of our family. And when he's here, he's always quizzing Grandma about who was this,
who was that. That's good. Because she won't be around forever, that's for sure.
No.
She's really bright. I can't believe that she can remember this stuff.
If she get going, she has a tremendous sense of humor. It's just amazing. But this thing is starting to wear out, this Parkinson.
I'd like to find my brother John's boy to find out if he's married and has any children or any to carry on the name. Because...
Well, maybe we could look into that.
Well, I
easily
tell
enough.
you, I was in Pittsburgh one day before I come out here. Oh, I suppose that's been 10 years ago. He's just your age. You and when mother died, and the girls were all home and they all had babies. There was you and Claude and Bert's baby Billy and John's boy, Jack, and you. There was 5 babies.
I thought he was younger than me.
Well,
Jack.
he is younger than me.
I mean,
that's right.
Jack Pryor.
Marvel was your age.
Marvel was my age.
Well,
he must be 10 years younger, well, maybe.
Well,
8 or 9
he
years
must
younger.
be in the 40s somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be,
Yeah.
Jack.
Or maybe up around 50.
He was, what he done was, what do you call him that makes false teeth? That's what he was doing. Worked in
A dental laboratory.
dental laboratory there in Pittsburgh. And it was in a big building there, and Mrs. Lorenz was with me. And I said, well, this is where John, or Jack, worked the last 3 years. So we went and inquired, and oh yes, I knew him, but he wasn't there. They said he's out in the north end of Pittsburgh, and I said, I don't think he's in the dental business anymore. I think he's in real estate. Well, starting to hunt up somebody That's all they knew, and that's
Did you say you think he's in Florida though now?
yes. Someone said that after John, my brother, died, that he was down there with his mother, and well, there was 3 girls, Marvel and Bobby and
Well, now were the Davises connected in with the family? And
Davises.
Yeah, I
No.
was thinking of Mo Davis, that family.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
He was just a character that lived.
They named that Davis's Corners was named after their family there.
They moved there before the Civil War.
Well, there's also a Bars Corners, right?
Bars.
Yes.
Now, that's a different place.
That's just
That's
down the
just
road.
another
Right.
crossroad.
Now, the Bars they're related to the Pryors.
Oh, was it Bauer? We always just called it Bars Corners. No. Was
Well, there was a Milton Bar, or Bar. How do you pronounce
Bar.
it? Bar.
Yes, there was a, I don't know whether it was his wife or what, that they called Becky Bar.
Well, Milton Bar married Perkins, his sister. Perkins Pryor's sister.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know about it. And was that B-A-U-E-R?
Well, on the records I found, it's just B-A-R-R.
Yeah, that's fine. Bar.
I think on some of the little maps that they put out at home, it had Bars Corners and Davis's Corners on.
We used to, or my mother and my dad, operated the store there at that Corners, at Bars Corners. Just a
Really?
General store, a country store. And I went to wasn't the first grade of school that I went there?
We went to school, and Aunt Liz Jolly's granddaughter was your first teacher, Hilda Lewis.
Oh yeah. Well, didn't they tear that schoolhouse down and put up a new one?
I believe they tore it down, but don't know whether they put up a new one or not.
And you went to school, you taught there, didn't you? At that school, or was it the old?
I went to the old one, Shannon School.
Shannon.
That was just a
Shannon.
little bit, come up to, from our place up to there, and it's just a little bit down.
Oh.
Well, Milton Bar, his wife's name was Sidney Pryor.
Cindy.
Sidney, almost like a boy's name.
Yes. I don't know that.
Okay.
Don't ring the bell for any of the ones I know.
And your grandfather Perkins also had a sister named Hannah, who married a Charles Cox.
Yes. The Coxes got in there. The Coxes was
And there's some Coxes back
well,
there, yeah.
Granddad's.
Dwayne Cox and Boone Cox. I know them, they're still living. Isn't Boone still living, I imagine?
Lester's his name.
Oh, I just know Boone Cox and
Well, the
Dwayne.
Coxes, there's 2 or 3 different brands of Coxes down there. But the ones that I know have any recollection of is the ones that grandmother was a Cox. And there was some children, I believe, when they come over from Ireland, I think they had 4 children. Anyway, their mother and father was buried at sea. They died of fever or something. And some of them had come over before, and then I guess they all thought it was a land of plenty.
Well, are the Pryors, what, English or Irish or?
Well, I don't know. They say that there's some Holland Dutch in the Pryors. Now the grandmother was Irish. There's no doubt about that. And
Wasn't there some Scotch mixed up in it? I've always said Scotch, Irish, Dutch.
It was what they said. But
I really don't know.
I don't know either. And they had some,
Hey, would you mind if I read that paper on that the news clipping that you had there? Was that something about the prior?
Oh, that.
Is that what? Was that on a?
That's about the cat there.
Oh, that's my cat.
Oh, there was one.
Yes, the.
Rockland yesteryears.
Yeah.
Is there anything about priors in that?
I don't know. It
So
was
the housekeeping at Cold
somebody
City
cut
Home.
that out and
Well,
sent it
there's
to
a
me.
Malat in there too. Now that's a name that, of course, she has lots of old pictures. Now this was Uncle Earl, and this was out in California.
That's the one that got killed
That's the one
out
that the
there.
pigs got after him.
Now Homer Malat. Now that name Malat. Now that.
Yeah,
Now he married into Priors, didn't he?
he married
Seems like that name rings a bell.
William. He's related to Ken.
Oh, that's where it is.
Somehow or other. They're the Williamses and
Okay. This large man right here. Well, there are two of them. Both of them.
The one,
This is Earl right here.
don't know who the other
look,
is.
that old Ford. I wouldn't mind having that now.
That'd be all right.
Yes.
This is interesting.
Who's that?
Oh, that long hair, that kid with the long hair.
Yes. Harry Sanford. He lived out there at the top of Ketterville Hill.
Excuse me.
And he had that hair was beautiful. I mean, it was just a golden red. And he wore it in two braids. And the braids stuck out from below the coat tail about that far.
Well,
And boy, when noon come or anything, he'd go out and lean up against the schoolhouse because every kid that got a chance would give one of them braids of hair.
Well, where did this come from, this little Bible?
Well, Steve, I found that at an auction sale.
Oh, all right.
I bought some stuff at an auction sale, and that little Bible was in it. It isn't a Bible, it's a hymnal.
A hymnal.
Now, if you can imagine anybody, is it coming apart?
Well, I've
I
kind of
was
bounced
going to hear
around.
young Steve do something with it. It was published in 1832. Now, how do you suppose they seemed to sing out of anything like that when they didn't even have glasses?
Hard to tell.
Yes, we'll have to.
I'll have to, at least I can re-scotch tape it for you maybe.
Yes, it's.
Where did you say you were going from here? To Iowa, or are you going back down home?
I'm going on up to Waterloo, Iowa, then across to Chicago, and then back home.
Oh my.
Boy, you're having a vacation.
Are you
This is a vacation, yeah. I
all on
like to get away during Christmas break.
Are you on this research bit? Are you going up through there and the whole bit? You have,
Don't you
working.
have a wife?
Well, no longer. We're divorced.
Oh. Well, I thought
That's
you
the
was
reason.
old enough to be married.
Yes.
I was wondering how you was getting away on a trip like that without taking your wife with you. But
Well,
Do
no,
you have-
we used to make trips
do
together.
you have children?
I have 3 children.
Oh, you have? Uh-huh. Oh, they're priors, huh?
They're all priors, yes.
What are their
I have a
names?
son. His name's Doug, then Sherry, and the baby. He's a boy too. Steve.
Oh, you have a Steve. Is it Stephen or Steve?
Stephen.
At PH or
S-C-E-V-E-N.
V-E-N? Mine's PH, and I have a son, Stephen, and he has a son, Stephen.
Oh, really?
So it goes to the third. So he's Stephen
you
the
call
third.
him Stephen the second and Stephen the third, or did you call him
Stephen Jr.
Junior?
Yeah, Steve Jr. He's my oldest boy. He's 40 years old. And
But do
he
you
has
have any brothers or sisters?
Do I? No.
You're the
I
only
was
child.
I was the only one.
my grandpa Pryor loved Grandpa Love. He was a tall, big, tall fellow, skinny but rangy, big, and he wore a Van Dyke beard.
Mhm.
And he had had a skin cancer on his nose. It ate a hole in his nose, and he always had a plaster
Oh, I see.
out over that. But he was, he and My grandma come to live with Mother and Dad just when I was born. And grandmother was great on sewing. They had 2 rooms.
That's the 9 girls in the family. So my
But,
mother is in that.
Yes, Granddad and Grandmother was at our. They moved, you know, that little house up at, or little log house up there at Bars Corners. They lived in that for a
It was
while.
on the point there. It was-
Yes, and then when Dad come home from the army and got married,
Good looking girls, either Coxes or Pryors. Some looks in the family someplace.
there's
Well, your grandfather, Perkins, was he able to get around pretty good?
oh yes, he got around just as good as I can remember. As if it was yesterday, he was there and hadn't been feeling good, and Dad had had the doctor over, and the doctor said, "Well, there's nothing that you can do for him. He's just old, 90-some years old." And I can remember that he was in bed. And he and Grandmother had a living room and
I'm about ready to leave.
And a
Was there
bedroom.
anything you wanted?
a downstairs, and
Oh.
I can remember as well as hearing Granddad say, he kind of
Well,
moaned
maybe
a
we
little
can let
bit.
it
He
go.
said,
We
"Oh
don't-
Lord, leave me down easy."
Well,
And he closed his eyes and died. Now I was just a kid then, but I can remember that just as well. I think it's one of the first things that I do remember. But
did you ever hear him talk about his? He had a brother named Peter Pryor.
yes, that's why I got mixed up in the Perkins and the Peter Pryor.
Didn't he show that to her?
Peter was my great grandfather.
Yes. Well, then it would be just the same as
They'll probably have
it
visitors.
would be like Steve, his children. My
Oh, no, not at all.
great grandfather, it would
Yeah,
be their
that'd be
great
great.
great grandfather.
Okay.
Well, you don't have a picture of Perkins, though, do you?
No, sir, I don't. And I was just trying to think and wondering if there was anyone that had, you know, they used to have
Did I?
big and
Well,
large pictures.
If you want me to,
Well,
maybe we...
in our parlor, we had 2
Maybe I
of
better-
them.
just better
One
stop
was
in.
Grandma and Grandpa
And
Smith.
visit
The
a
other
pal.
was Grandma and Grandpa Pryor. And I can remember
already-
so well
already
once it was after
Yeah.
they had died,
Yeah.
all 4 of them, but
Yeah.
those enlarged pictures was remained
Oh,
in the
fine,
parlor.
fine. We're learning a lot.
And Mother and Dad was away somewhere, and the girls was cleaning house.
Well, okay then. I'll
I
go
don't
there and,
know which ones, Marie and some of them. And they
is
decided
that Ryan or Shipley?
to take the large pictures down. And they took them down and set them in behind the organ. After Dad, when he and Mother came back, why, he was, I guess, kind of surmised something. Anyway, he went in the parlor and looked around, and he come out and he said, "Now you girls, whoever took those pictures down, can just get them and put them back up where they belong."
Well, your mother, or your grandmother, no, it'd be your mother. When did she die? Do you know what year that was?
She died in 1917.
Well, I tell you, I've
Well,
sure
wait, don't
appreciate
mind me
it.
now. If you want to visit some more, why?
I really probably better be going.
Where are you going to end up today? Do you know?
Well, I'm going down to see another lady down south of down near Camden
Oh,
this afternoon. So,
gee, you're really. Well,
Yeah,
it's
I'm-
wonderful that you're, and sounds like you're doing a great job. So
well, I enjoyed it.
hope you get it finished, and when you do, we can buy a.
Well, I'll keep you
Get
guys.
it into print. Well, I'm sure you will. That's
Inquire around and see if there's anyone among Ken's. Now, Ken might have a picture of Grandmother and Granddad Pryor because his,
Yeah.
that's as near as I would know.
I'm sure someone would back there. If I can get back there next summer, I'd like to see what he looked like.
Somebody, he was, this somebody looks like he was tall, he wasn't heavy, he was thin, but I think he was 6 foot something. And he didn't have a mustache, but he had a beard, a goat beard.
Now, who are you talking about now?
That's my granddad Love.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then back farther than that, about as far back as I can go. And, but
Well, I...